Season's over. The Jacksonville Jaguars fall short 27-20 to KC at Arrowhead. That close. But the turnovers mattered. I'll tell you all about it here on a postcast of Locked On Jaguars.
You are Locked On Jaguars, your daily Jacksonville Jaguars podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I am Tony Wiggins, the host of the Locked On Jaguars podcast. Thank you for joining us and making us your first listen because it's your team every day. Reminding you also that we are free on all platforms wherever you get your podcast. Make sure you like and subscribe on the YouTube page as well. Welp, W-E-L-P, as people say all the time when something happens that concludes something. Welp, season is over for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Very, very competitive game, extremely competitive game. They lose 27-20 to Kansas City in Arrowhead, and the season is no more. The Jaguars will now come home and get ready for the offseason. We'll touch a little bit on that in our second segment. Right now, all you got to say is the better team won. We can talk about officials all day, but at the end of the day, the officials didn't have much to do with some key plays. We talked all week about guys having to step up and we need all hands on deck, and there could not be mistakes. Well, we got some mistakes today. Drop pass early from Christian Kirk. I don't care what you hear on TV. That pass was not underthrown. Trevor launched it about 60 yards and it hit him square in both of his hands, and he dropped it. A drop pass by Jermichael Hasty that would have given the Jaguars a chance at a long field goal, which on today, I think they would have made that field goal. One bad penalty that was called on Arden Key for late hitting. It was not a late hit. It was one step. The other thing is Pacheco got loosed on a run early in the game and flipped field position. I don't know if Trayvon was supposed to run a twist, but Trayvon Walker was on the end. He didn't set the edge. He backed up towards the middle, and that's exactly where Pacheco went. All of those things were big in terms of the Jaguars not winning the game. We'll do a little bit of by the numbers, and it'll explain some of the play calling. And I don't think the play calling was bad. We had discussed all week that we wanted them to run the ball, right? So you saw a lot of Jermichael Hasty in the game. Somebody already asked me why did he carry the ball more than ETN? He didn't. He had 4 carries and 1 catch. He had 5 touches on the day. Travis Etienne had 14 touches on the day. I think the short passes were for 2 reasons. That Steve Spagnuolo is known for blitzing people off of the hot corner, off of the slot. He's also known for twisting linebackers around and blitzing them, and also sending people up the middle on lightning packages. And I think Doug Peterson knows him as well as anybody. And I believe what happened was, I believe that Doug Peterson came into the game and said, we're going to catch them on one of these plays where we throw this ball out there and they're running a blitz. And sometimes it worked. Sometimes they didn't get a lot of blocking. But I looked at all of those passes to the side as keep them honest. They were horizontal, but they were extensions of the run game. You see at the end what happens when you're 1 score back, but they know you got to throw it. You see how they play their defense and how they send people. That's what happens. So I think the stuff you saw working at the end, right before the Agnew fumble, was the reason that they were doing the things that they did earlier. I guarantee if you ask Doug, why did you do that so much? The plan was coming together. If Agnew catches that ball, even if he doesn't score, but on the next play, the Jaguars get in, it is 27-24 with like 5 minutes to go. And they're like saying, all right, now here we are. Let's lay it on the line. I honestly think if they'd have scored there, they would have stopped KC. And if they stopped KC, I think they would have gone for a touchdown. Whether they get it or not, they would have gone for a touchdown. And even if they didn't got the touchdown, they'd gone for a field goal. I don't think you beat KC in overtime because they're so potent offensively. And they have that one guy in Travis Kelce that they can keep throwing the ball to. But Butker's also a very, very good field goal kicker. And you're on the road. So Good game by Jacksonville. We'll go through a little bit of by the numbers here pretty soon. Shout out to everybody. Eric Kirkland, I see you. Clifton Duff. What up, Cliff? And everyone else who's tuning in. Long season. I know this is the time where we do all the conciliatory stuff where we say we were playing with house money and all of this stuff, but this still stings and it still hurts because you know your team had an absolute chance to do this. They've won 8 out of 9 games this week. When you win 8 out of 9, you start to really feel invincible, not only as a team, but as a fan base. And they'll learn more from today than they'll learn moving forward. Thank everyone who's thanking me for doing this today. I appreciate you very much. All right, so what we're going to do here, we're going to do a little by the numbers. We're going to take a little bit of a glimpse into the future. We'll do all of that in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars. I have to let you know that today's show is sponsored by PrizePicks. If you haven't played PrizePicks yet, I don't know what to tell you, man. PrizePicks is daily fantasy, right? It's daily fantasy. And what they do is they select entries, which are the players, and then they put player projections on them. Like, for instance, if you had said that you thought Trevor Lawrence was going to be less than 2 touchdowns passing today, you would have won on that one particular entry. All you got to do is pick two or more, up to 5 entries, and you can win up to 10 times your money. No competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections that are available. PrizePicks offers projections on any sport that you watch. Football is in its prime right now. The NBA is headed toward the All-Star break. You got golf, college basketball, the whole shebang. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's just that easy. Currently operational in over 30 states and Canada. Here's what you do. Download the PrizePicks app and go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play fantasy sports. For first-time users, on your initial login, you can, if you deposit $100, PrizePicks will give you $100, but you have to use the promo code Locked On. That's one word. Sign up, the instant deposit match of up to $100 when you use the promo code Locked On. What is good, man? I got to let you know about FanDuel. FanDuel is the real deal. I've been playing FanDuel for so long, man. I am so happy and excited about our new betting partner for Locked On because they're the number one sports book in America. They always have been for me, FanDuel. And if you're new to FanDuel, that's even better. They have so many great features that make betting on sports fun and easy. Just sign up at FanDuel.com/Locked On. New customers join today and get started with $150 in free bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's what you'll get. FanDuel, for me, I've made money playing NBA FanDuel. I'm a FanDuel king when it comes to the NBA, but the playoffs are still here and you can do damage with that also. Just sign up at FanDuel.com/LockedOnNFL, and you can even combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with same game parlay. That's right. It's FanDuel.com/LockedOn to take advantage of all of the things that FanDuel have for you. $150 in free bets with that promo code. Okay, man, rolling along here. We're going to do a little by the numbers. The Jacksonville Jaguars, if you're late to the party, lose today to the Kansas City Chiefs 27-20. Disappointing, man. Just a disappointing loss, even though a lot of folks thought that we were playing with house money and all of that stuff. I never looked at it that way. I've always known that the second the season was over with, though, that the Jaguar fan base was still going to have a time of reflection where they'll say that wasn't bad. All right, so 24 for 39 for 217 for Trevor Lawrence today. Not great, but not bad. He made the one mistake at the end. Travis Etienne did average 6.2 yards a carry on 10 carries. Jermichael Hasty had 4 carries for 36 yards. So the Jaguars were able to move the ball on the ground a little bit, also aided by 26 yards from Trevor Lawrence. The receivers, nobody cracked 100. Zay Jones had 83 yards on 5 catches. Christian Kirk, 7 catches for 52 yards and 1 tutty. Evan Ingram, 5 catches for 31 yards. So you didn't really get that raw production. You didn't get any sacks from Jacksonville. You didn't get a lot of that raw production that you needed in this particular game. And that's what has to happen when you play superior teams, things have to ratchet up a little bit. Patrick Mahomes seemed like he was playing pitch and catch all day, 22 for 30 for 195 with 2 tutties. Isaiah Pacheco had 95 yards rushing on the ground. Travis Kelce had 14 catches for 98 yards. The yards didn't kill him, but it was the situation of when he was catching those balls and how often he was. He also had 2 touchdowns. So if you'd have came into this game and you told me that Patrick Mahomes would throw for $195, that Travis Kelce would not get 100 yards, they would not have a running back with 100 yards rushing. Had you told me that coming in, I would have been like, the Jaguars have a pretty good chance. And they actually did have a pretty good chance, but close is not good enough. Close does not count. The Jaguars lose this game. Looking forward to the future. So as we start to venture towards the future, and now we can finally look up and say, okay, it's over. So let's start looking towards what happens. The Jaguars can improve in 2 ways. One, with age and more maturity. That'll be Trevor. That'll be Etienne. That will be Trayvon Walker and some of the other young players. They're also going to have to get better and improve by making additions and making subtractions. Some of these guys that are playing some of the bigger roles. If they're to remain on this team, you would hope that what they do is their role diminishes a little bit and they replace them with somebody who's better. Because everybody isn't going to get better with time because they have a lot of veterans on this team right now. So, and then everybody isn't under contract beyond next season. Some guys have a contract for next year, but then like there were a lot of guys who signed last year. This is their second year of a 3-year deal. So they're going to have to draft. They're going to have to sign guys in free agency. Anybody is on the table. I don't care if they played here before or D-Hop is on the table. Those are the kind of guys that you need to win. And I know they're going to get Calvin Ridley, but I still want them to get somebody else. And I know Evan Ingram had a nice season, but I still want them to get a magical tight end. Someone you saw today, the difference between as good as Evan Ingram has been this year at some points for Jacksonville, you saw who Travis Kelce is and what Travis Kelce meant. Therefore, that's kind of what you want to happen. You really want those guys to be people who don't necessarily have to depend on the quarterback, but the quarterback can depend on them more. And we saw some drop passes today. We saw a lot of things that this team they're that close. Somebody just mentioned Kyrie Simon. I'm glad you said it. Josh Allen did not show up. That's what Josh Allen does. With all due respect, they keep mentioning him as one of the better players, and I get it. You got to do it in games like this, man. You saw Chris Jones in the backfield every single play. That's the kind of stuff we need. I'll give Trayvon a little bit more time, but I'm going to tell you something. They got to address their rush, especially if they're going to keep rotating guys, because Arden Key's going to be a free agent. Kaylavon is not under contract next year. Thank God. Every time I look out there and see number 45, I don't know what they're expecting out of him. They are going to have a chance to get some pass rush, whether it's another veteran who is sort of coming off of having a decent season, still has a little juice left, and isn't going to require a bunch of money, or maybe somebody in the second or third round. I don't know if they're going to use another first-round pick because this team has other needs. And I think where they're picking, they're going to be able to get someone to help them. You saw the offensive line struggle a little bit. Cam Robinson coming back, maybe Walker Little isn't quite ready for all of that pressure, right? Cam Robinson coming back, Walker Little continuing to improve, and maybe they get a big-time guard. If they can find the money, can they sign Elton Jenkins from Green Bay, who's going to be a free agent, who's a left guard, who can also swing out in a pinch and play some right tackle if something happens to that person. But I think they need to retain all of their good young players, fill in a little bit with maybe some veterans, but you have to get players that scare the other people, and it won't be all about offensive design, and it won't be all about just a scheme. It'll be like, it's coming and you can't do nothing about it. So there's going to be a lot of talk and a lot of chatter about that, but we see this is a team that cannot overcome mistakes, because when you play a really, really good team like this, because they are just not good enough. Make sure you check out the Locked On Jaguars podcast every single day because it's your team every day. Wherever you get your podcast, it's free. And we'll be here Monday. We'll talk about it a little bit more. We'll do more of a recap of the game as well as talk about where do we go from here. And more or less, man, I said this game ended, but the fun is just beginning because I really believe with Doug Peterson and Trevor Lawrence together that you haven't seen the last of the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is not going to be a one-hit wonder. This is not going to be Milli Vanilli, blame it on the rain. This is going to be something where they're going to be very, very competitive here every single year for quite a long time. Make sure you check me out. You guys take care of each other. We will see you Monday at our regularly scheduled time. Jaguars fall 27-20. Season's over, but it's only just beginning.